So imagine being sent to prison at 17 years old and spending nearly 13 years incarcerated, and then coming home to build one of the most respected youth organizations in New York State. That's not a movie. That's today's guest. Welcome back to Prison Bosses, the the podcast, actually one of the number one podcasts behind the walls. And this episode is proudly powered by Industrial Bank, one of the only banks in America actively helping justice impacted individuals access real financial opportunities, rebuild their futures, and break generational cycles. But today, we're sitting down with the man who transformed incarceration into impact. He went from serving time to actually serving the communities, from being counted out to becoming a nationally recognized leader in justice reform, youth mentorship, violence prevention, and reentry. He's the founder and CEO of 914 United, an organization helping at risk and justice impacted youth rewrite their futures through leadership, financial literacy, mentorship, and opportunity. His work has earned him recognition from My Brother's Keeper Alliance, and he now helps shape policy statewide by his appointment by Andrea Stewart Cousins to the New York State Commission on Prison Education. But what makes this story powerful isn't just what he's built, it's what he overcame to build it. So, Jonathan Alvarez, welcome to Prison Boss Podcast, brother. How you doing? So, my brother, how are you doing? Welcome to the show.
I'm good. I'm good, brother. Thanks for asking. Yeah, I'm happy to be here, man. I'm happy to have this conversation.
No, great, yo. I looked at your work, love the work you're doing. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you come from, your upbringing. What was life like for you coming up?
Yeah. I mean, usually I like to, talk about where I was raised. I was born on the southwest of Yonkers. I'm from Yonkers,
Mhm.
New York.
Okay.
I kind of grew up in a broken home, right? Like I lived with my mom. My father lived across town. Had two
Mm-hmm.
different kind of experiences growing up.
Mm.
As I got to learn later on, my father was heavy in the field, right? So he was the luxury. He gave me the luxury experiences, the traveling. My mom was in the trenches, right?
Yep. Yep.
Growing up with her,
Mm.
and it's funny because I'm writing my memoir now. It's called Becoming More
Mm.
Prison of Purpose. So I'm delving
Present
into these
purpose.
parts of my story that I never really acknowledged, right? So I realized growing up, I kind of saw domestic violence, right? Because I had a stepfather in the house.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of trauma there. But my mom was a beautiful lady. She was a loving lady. She was strong. You know what I'm saying? But how I'm understanding my childhood was like she was the loving mother that also I grew up in like the poor experiences with,
Mm.
versus my father who was the luxury, right? Life changed for me when I was 10. He was indicted by the feds. Feds snatched him,
Mm.
right? So imagine this being my role model, the luxury in my life, and then he snatched out of my life at 10 years old. And that's kind of where my life took the turn, right?
Yep. Yep.
We see statistically like young boys growing up without fathers present, the impact that can have. My mom
Facts.
trying to do what she could do, right? I got a stepfather in the house that wasn't a father figure, role model to me at all, super
Mm-hmm.
disconnected. But yeah, that was kind of like how I understand that. And then with the shift happening, 12 is when I kind of started flirting with the streets, 13 years
Mm.
old, selling drugs, right?
Mm.
And then it's like I could kind of go into the story you want me to, how that
Yeah,
kind of just
yeah,
evolved.
definitely.
All
Please
right,
do.
yeah. So after 10 years old, when my father being gone, 12, 13, hitting the field, right? Smoking weed, that was a gateway, right?
Yep.
That led me to selling drugs. Selling drugs led me to not taking school serious, then get
Mm.
involved with the bros
Mm.
in my area. Got kicked out of school at 15, right? For constant fights, selling drugs on school grounds is what got me expelled.
Oof. On school
From
ground.
15, yeah, right? I'm 15 years old, right? So now, and it's funny because right around that time, really 14, is when my stepfather got snatched. The feds raided my crib. So I
Mm.
experienced two different disruptions early from 10 to 15 years old, right? So I lost my pops, my mom struggling, dealing with a man that I wasn't, really connected to. Then
Mm-hmm.
the feds snatched him out of my life or her life at 14, right? So I'm dealing with all that, right? I'm going to school, not taking school serious, selling drugs, getting high, getting into fights, you know what I'm saying? Started running with the bros around my way. And, that's when I really kind of started to elevate in the streets.
Mm.
15. I wasn't going to school. I'm banging. I'm
Yep.
going to war with dudes across town. Now we
Yep.
carrying knives, guns. We getting into rumbles. you know. So it's not coincident that by 17 I'm indicted on murder, right? Over, you know, street situation.
Mm.
And it really wasn't my situation. It was somebody else's situation that I got pulled into.
Yep.
Cause that come with the streets, right? Like, you know, you gonna
100%.
step for your bros. So yeah, man, like understanding my storyline as a young boy, losing my father, then my mom struggling, and my stepfather leaving, and me getting kicked out of school. You know, 17 is when I took that journey. You know, yeah.
And so at 17, here you are. Well, a couple of things real quick. I want to just breeze over. Yo, our trajectories are so much similar, bro. And I think that
Mm,
probably a lot of our listeners will be able to relate. But like, I'm just like you in the fact that my mom's, I grew up in the Bronx. 15 minutes outside of YO, right? 15 minutes.
facts.
So I grew up in the Bronx, and my mom's Monday through Friday I'm with her. She's in the, we live in the projects, but my father on the weekends I'm with him. He's in Harlem off Harlem River Drive. And he got
Mm-hmm.
the condominium, he living the life. And so, like you said, like I went from cereal, roaches in my cereal, to being introduced to caviar on the weekend. So I know
Facts.
exactly what you're talking about. Only
Facts.
difference was my pops died when I was 9. So instead of the feds
Mm,
getting him, just his lifestyle, the way he was living, he got caught up and, he passed away. So I could
I'm
feel
sorry to
that
hear that.
trauma, and I understand exactly what you're talking about. And I'm sure a lot of our readers, our listeners will be able to subscribe to that too. But
Yeah,
one of the
it's
things
kind of
that
interesting.
kind of really jumps out to me that you said was you got dragged into someone else's stuff at 17, right?
Facts.
And I think a lot of our listeners could understand or relate to that, especially a lot of them who got incarcerated in those teenage years, just like myself, mine being 19 instead of 17, though. And
Mm.
looking back at it today, from the vantage point today and the fact that you work with youth today, what advice do you give to that 17-year-old who's in the streets heavy doing what they do to try to get them out of or make better decisions, being the person you are today and understanding what you know now?
I mean, it's a big question, right? I got so much I want to say, but I think for me, what wasn't normalized was thinking before we act. I
Mm,
think like we're so
mm,
impulsive, right? A lot of us are
mm,
under the influences. We getting high, we drinking, and we live in this kind of toxic masculine culture, right? That so it's funny. I have a workshop, right, called "Shedding the Mask We Live In," right?
mm,
And a lot of us wear masks, not knowing that mask is toxic, and usually it's really kind of us tied into this identity crisis. So my name is
mm,
Jonathan, but I was
mm,
calling myself Jo, right? Jo came with
mhm.
the mask. He came with the persona. Jo was not thinking before he acted, right?
Talk that. Yes,
So
sir.
like I'm an advocate of consequential thinking, right? Like had I known, that one choice, really, when I took a step back and looked at what happened, a life was taken, two lives was changed, right? Over something that was meaningless. This
Facts.
wasn't something that was meaning, like it didn't really have no meaning. I'm just responding, right? So we very impulsive. And the reality is, right? I don't care if you killed 20 people. I don't care if you killed one person, if you never killed nobody. When you in the streets and you make an impulsive choice and you sitting in that cell
Mm,
and you doing what,
mm,
what, what we call ceiling time,
mm.
right? That's when the true you really feels the weight of that decision. That's when you wake up and you like, damn, I played myself, right? But we never could see that when we in the field, right? We at war internally,
Yep.
externally, we at war, right?
Yep.
We numbing ourselves from the pain, we wearing the mask. So we just constantly impulsive. So I tell young boys, man, think before you act, man, because you will live to regret that. You know what I'm saying? And if they're fortunate, they'll come back from that decision. Because
Mm.
sometimes we lose people early, they go to jail, they might never come back home. If they come back physically, they're not the same mentally.
Facts.
So
Yep.
it's almost like you want to tell them you're walking into a burning house. Think about
Mm,
that walk, right?
mm.
So yeah, man, like my situation, and it's crazy because I have 5 statements that was written on me, and one of the statements was the person that gave me that phone call.
Hmm, hmm,
So
hmm.
what I learned early on was like the streets, this brotherhood, this loyalty shit wasn't real. You know what I'm saying?
Talk it.
Like it was an
Talk it.
illusion. I was bought into that because I know what I'm gonna do. Like I tell people, I know how I'm gonna show up for mine, right? But then if they don't show up for you the same way, right? That could cost you your life. And that's exactly what
100%.
it did for me. Right. So
100%.
it sobered me up real quick. I was
Mm,
able to take that mask off over time and I'll get into how I did that, but Yeah, man, thinking before we act is so critical. And this is not just about putting your life on the line. Like I'm talking about even with women you choose,
Talk it.
places you go, right?
Talk it. Talk it.
Because you will live to regret that. I
That's a
see
fact.
individuals with children, with women that they regret. Like there's so much pain and suffering
Yes, sir.
that we really create for ourselves if we don't think before we act, right?
Couldn't agree more.
So that's kind of like one message I'll say, man, is really think about what you about to do before you act on it.
Facts.
Because once it's done, you can't undo it. Can't
No
take that back.
takebacks.
Facts.
No takebacks, bro. So appreciate that. And so you're 17, right? And what was your sentence and where do you go from there? Are you on the island? Like walk
Yeah.
us through that process.
I was first arrested on assault in the first because he was basically a vegetable. And then I was indicted on murder in the second and gang assault.
Mm,
Then I copped out to manslaughter in the first degree and gang assault in the first degree.
mm,
And I got sentenced to 15 years, 5 post release, right? 5 post release supervision. Out of the 15, I did 12 years and 6 months. No, 4 months, sorry. Because I had got my degree and stuff. So, but I'll get to that later. Yeah, I went into county. Westchester County is known as Valhalla. So I wasn't on the island. I went to the minor block. I was there. I spent about 11 months on the minor block.
mm,
When I
mm,
landed, I was the only one with a body. So that kind of changed my, like, I mean, it played a role, influence how I showed up, right? But I know a lot of people there, you know what I'm saying? I was already popular, already connected, so it was kind of like an easy transition.
mm.
Sometimes it's not.
That's a fact.
I'm 130 pounds, I got long hair, I'm from the South Side, right? So sometimes we gotta put on. And I had to, a couple situations showed up, I had to put on, but it wasn't like, too hard for me. Yeah, that was my time in the county for 10 months. I was there, I think 11 months probably, less than a year before
Less than a
the
year.
indictment and me copping out and then going to upstate New York.
What was that feeling as a 17-year-old being sentenced to 2 years less than you've lived life?
It's a good ass question, bro. I never thought about that in terms of the years. To be honest, so this might sound crazy, and it must be something in me that like I gotta acknowledge, but I was okay with the sentence because
Mm,
I knew what I did, right?
Accountability.
Yeah, I guess I had accountability. So like I was trying to get 10 years with a
Mm,
smile. Like I was like, give me 10 or 12. For some reason, 10 or 12, I knew I wasn't gonna get nothing less than a double digit. So I was trying to go for 10.
gotcha.
So when I got to 15, and then she's like, yo, my lawyer's like, yo, you'll be out by your 30 years old. Like I saw light at the end of my tunnel because out of
Mm,
15 years, you
mm,
do 12 and 10, technically.
Yep.
So it kind of sounded like what I was looking for. 12 years, all right, cool. I'll go up north. It was so crazy at a seven. I was 18 at the time though. So I turned 18. So it was crazy.
While
I
you was
turned
locked up.
18 to my 30th birthday in prison. So all my important birthdays, right? As a young adult. So I was okay with it. Like, and I kind of like knew the county I was in. A lot of old heads like, yo, bro, take that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
the D at the time, right? They slaying you. I knew another person that landed in the county that tried to take his body to trial, and he got 20 to life, got 25 to life, I think. But that
Mm-hmm.
was also pressure too. Like, yo, I ain't
Mm-hmm.
got that pressure, and I ain't
Yep.
got the L on my back.
Yep.
So for me, was everything to not get the L on my back. So 15 flat was like a win. I could have got better sentence if I had a paid lawyer, but I didn't have a paid attorney. So I was okay with that decision. And I was okay with it. And it's crazy because part of me was also, I was nervous about my journey, but I was excited too.
Mm. To get out the
Crazy
county.
to go to take this journey I was going on. I felt like it was a journey. Like, this is
Gotcha.
crazy. Like, I'm about to see what the
Gotcha.
state looks like. Out of my team, I was the only one at the time who's in jail going to the States. First
Right.
one.
Right.
So I think all this was like, it eased me. It wasn't like,
Mm,
yeah, I cried when I first got the
of course.
indictment.
Yeah.
But once I got past understanding, like, yo, I did what I did. Now I'm like, kind of want to see where this is going to go. And I kept trying to see, yo, what does 10 years from now look like?
Mm,
I was
mm.
trying to rush the time in my head. And I think in that was easing how I experienced taking the 15 years.
That's
You know what I'm
powerful.
saying?
That's
Yeah,
powerful.
interestingly enough, word.
That's definitely powerful, bro. And you said a lot of powerful shit just in the fact of like, the fact that you're thinking foresight. I'm thinking 10 years from now. I love the way that you also, the mindset at the time in terms of, just full accountability. Once we get past what I'm here for, yeah, I did it. So I'm gonna do this time and I'm okay with the consequence
Yeah.
because of what I've did, and I'm gonna hold it down. And so I think that's powerful, bro. And so where do you go? Where's the first spot you land at?
I mean, in New York, if you did time in DOC in New York State, you go to downstate at the time,
Yep.
Fishkill
Yep.
Corrections. That's the transition. That's when they strip you. You
Yep.
get your hair cut down, right?
Cold
You go
ass
into that
water.
cold ass shower. Word,
Yeah. Yeah.
Lysol, whatever that soap is.
Facts.
Traumatic. I actually write about that in my memoir. It's a traumatic experience. You think
Super
about it.
traumatic. Super
They
traumatic,
stripping you
bro.
of your identity and they
Yep.
giving you a number. Mine was
Yep.
078 1922. Never forget that.
Never.
Yeah, man. So I go there and I was there for like 3 weeks, and then my first stop was Sing Sing.
Mm.
So I
Mm.
kind of fake got lucky because I went to the swing, which was 15, 20 minutes from the town. Everybody loved the swing for what it is, right? That was my first stop. I was there for about 7, 8 months. And then I got shipped to Comstock, the Great Metal,
Mm.
right? That's where it's real. That was
Yep.
real jail for me, like in
Yep.
essence, right? I was there for about a year. But yeah, about a year. Then I got transferred back down to the swing, right? I was trying to go on educational transfer. I was there for I think 3 years, and then I went to the box, got into a situation, 3 months in the box, and then I got shipped to Kasaki.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's the gladiators
Gladiator.
experience.
That's a fact.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
oppressive as jail. You heard?
Facts.
Yeah, a lot I seen. Almost went to war, right? Like it's a different experience there too,
Mm-hmm.
because everything's super segregated. Just like 6 phones, 300 people in the yard, right? Like you know how that was. So that was a crazy experience too. I was there for about 18 months, 19 months. And I got shipped to I put another transfer in. I went to Eastern, Nappanak. That was like the luxury jail at the time,
Yep.
right? I know
Yep.
it changed probably, but that was an honor jail. And then from there, I got into college. And that's
Mm.
when like my level up really like
Mm.
kind of elevated, right? Because what I should have said was when I got kicked out of school, right? When I was 15, I got my
Yep.
GED in Sing Sing. You
Gotcha.
know what I'm saying? And then I got into college in 2013, 14.
Mm.
Yeah, got into college. So I got my associates,
What
and then
college
I
you
got
went
my
to?
Bard Prison
Oh,
Initiative.
Bard. Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's
I'm
fire.
sure,
Okay.
yeah,
Yes,
a lot
sir.
of the
Yes, sir.
brothers, the fellows behind the wall doing their thing. Shout out to them. Definitely was a great opportunity. Super competitive, probably still
Mm-hmm.
is.
Mm-hmm.
A rigorous program though. Like, listen, the weak man, that's not for the weak. It also gave me hope. It gave me purpose, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, I got my associates, and then I went to because then my classification dropped, so I went to a medium. I went to Woodburn. That was
Mm-hmm.
the other facility BPI was in, so they sent a lot of us there. I was there for about 2 years, and I transferred back to Easton to get my bachelor's. So then that was the level up, but that was my last
Mm.
stop. From there, I went home.
Gotcha.
I studied my thesis for 2 years. I studied fashion, right? So it's
Mm.
funny.
Mm.
It's crazy. Things come full circle. So for my undergrad, right? It's funny. What I was gonna actually, what I wrote to get into the bachelor's program, which is a competitive, highly competitive program, was about me being Dominican and Puerto Rican, like kind of traveling these two identities I never felt like I belonged in, right?
Mm.
And I talked about that, right?
Mm.
When I got to my thesis, my senior thesis, my bachelor's degree, I was gonna write about my grandfather, who is also the Dominican dictator, Rafael Trujillo. If you know
Mm.
who Trujillo is,
Mm.
Dominican history, he legit was the Hitler of DR from 31 to 62. He was assassinated. There's
Mm.
movies on him and all that.
Mm.
Um, Crazy history with that. My father's father. My father was a bastard child, born out of wedlock. Long story, not a recognized son, but I show you an image of them two. They're
You gonna
definitely
know, right?
twins.
Right.
I was gonna write about that because I learned that he played a role in the divide between Dominicans and Puerto Ricans
Mm.
indirectly. Long
Mm.
story short,
Mm.
that was too deep to kind of get into. So I started writing about fashion because Trayvon Martin was just murdered at the time over the
Ooh,
hoodie.
hoodie on.
The hoodie conversation came up. So I started studying the hoodie. I'm always been into two-piece suits. So I was gonna do something with that, but it led me into street fashion. And what I
Mm.
studied was basically the social historical significance of street fashion, which I
Mm.
traced to the Great Migration in the early 1900s, where I identify what I argue was the origin of street fashion, right? Why blacks and brown communities wear what we wear and how it started. I trace it to the Jim Crow South, right? There's a lot of like white
Powerful.
supremacist oppression that
Mm.
inspired black materialism. So I got deep, bro. I got deep. I studied the low lives, right? I studied Outpost fashion style. I looked at the Harlem Renaissance. I looked at the zoo suits.
Come
I was
on.
just really digging in for
on.
2 years. I was
Mm.
cooking on this. You hear me?
Mm.
So that was like my inspiration. Like I want to come home. I'm gonna get into fashion. Like I want to do fashion exhibitions. I want to be a curator. Like I found what I thought was my passion, which I'll get into how me getting into that industry, coming home led to my work now. But yeah.
That's fire. I got a question for you. So you ended up in the box in Sing Sing for 3 months. You obviously you was involved in something probably. What
Yeah,
was
yeah,
your
yeah.
experience life after like before college and bidding, and then once you got into college bidding, or was there a moment outside of the college that you had a mindset shift to like kind of lock in and start to level up?
You know what's crazy? I think early on I came up north with the like drive to level up. So at the time
Mm-hmm.
I was married. I got married at 18. My
Okay.
ex-wife also got her degree by she was 20. She got like her master's or something like early on. So I was
Mm.
very motivated by her too, right? I felt like I had to get my GED. I also, for me, I think I always had that in me, like always had that knack to level up, to like be smart, grow. Even when I was wilding on the minor block, I was still trying to take my GED. Like
Mm.
there was that other part of me when I was in the field before I caught my case. I was trying to get my GED.
Still
Like
trying. Yep.
always was trying. Like it never was
Yep.
something that I pushed off. So it's not surprisingly that like when I got to prison, I learned early on. Like I hit the yard. I had this crazy experience with somebody in Sing Sing that kind of opened up my eyes about prison.
Mm.
Like it can get
Mm.
real fast, right?
Real quick. Real quick.
So
Real.
I became super militant and I structured up. You know what I'm saying? I focus on my getting my weight up. I'm getting my mind right. I'm away from the politics. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
gang banging. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I represent 914, whatever I land. But I also was very like connected to many people. I got brothers from Brooklyn, the Bronx, different gangs and all that. But I moved very neutral and I understood like what was the politics and what wasn't. So I locked in early, taking programs.
Mm-hmm.
So the time I got into the situation was more of an impulsive decision, right? I was in a college program in Sing Sing. And I threw all that away. I threw my trailers away for that one decision, that fateful decision right there, and almost caught a new charge behind that.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Because someone was
Mm.
going to tell. Thank God it didn't work out that way. I got shipped up out the jail, went to the box, and then that was my journey. So I think the shift was already in me. Like I already was on that pathway. So it wasn't like I was moving on jail bidding politics time that led me to the box and then I shifted. It was
Right.
like I already was
You
moving
was
with that
already.
walk.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
just things
Right.
happen in jail. You know what I'm saying?
That's a fact. Jail is jail.
Word.
Shit happens.
Facts.
So now, all right. So you've done your time. You got your degrees under your belt. You're home. You thinking you're gonna get into fashion. What happens next?
So I got to jump into that, right? So I came home with the vision, like I said, to be a fashion curator. So there was was a college called the New School Parsons, right? If you know Parsons, Parsons is like the Harvard of fashion,
Yep.
top elite school in New York, probably the
Yep.
nation. I applied to that school.
Mm.
Right? I said, fuck it, we're gonna go for it.
Let's do
Yo,
it.
bro, I cooked. I used my research that I did for undergrad. I got into the program. I got nearly awarded a full scholarship. This
Damn.
was
Come
a
on now.
90K, I think. Yeah, it's a 90K program,
Damn.
10 bands a semester, right?
Mm.
I
Mm.
ain't low key. I think back now I kind of was bugging jumping into that program because I could, but it felt good though because I'm like, yo, they gave
Yeah.
me a near full scholarship. They loved my story. I was in this elite school. But then the process to start in school is where like, I'm transitioning, right? I'm living with my
Mm-hmm.
aunt. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot going on around me, right? A
Mm-hmm.
lot of negative influences. I'm also trying to learn who I am, right? Because now
Mm.
I'm
Mm.
Jonathan to the world. I ain't just J.O. no more. And I'm
Yep.
owning that. You heard?
Yep.
Like for the
Yep.
people listening, right? I tell people, you got to start really tapping into who you truly are while you're sitting inside, right?
Talk
Because
that.
a lot of
Talk it.
us, what really got me where I'm at today, people like, yo, like, how did you like become this successful? I said, bro, I changed how I saw myself.
Talk about it.
Bro, we
Yes.
need to
Yes.
change the lens of how we see ourselves. That's how we change and level up in the outcomes we create. If you
Talk about
locked into just that one version of who you put on that mask,
it.
you're
Mm-hmm.
never gonna escape it. You're never gonna create the successful life you want. Because you're gonna always go back to the mask lifestyle, right? So at some point I was not to say shedding or like killing Jo. I was evolving Jo to
Mm.
really tapping into Jonathan. So now I'm like more than that mask, right? I
Yep.
still got the J.O. in me, right? Like, that's always going to be my authentic self. But now I know how to code switch. I move in and out of different
Correct.
spaces. And
Correct.
that's what successful looks like, right? So I was already changing that version of me. So when I came home, like, there was a lot that I struggled with, like being around my bros, for example. They don't know, like, I'm in conversations, I'm in space with them, and I'm low-key don't feel connected no more. I'm low-key like,
Mm.
damn, because I'm the only one in my space with a degree now. I'm seeing the world from like a more broadened vision, not
Yep.
just a block.
Yep.
What they find funny wasn't funny. Like, I'm just OD, a different style person. I'm like, damn, I'm really different. So it broke down some relationships early on, meaning
Talk about
I
it.
wasn't coming around the same. So I was struggling with that. Family dynamic. I'm struggling with
Mm.
family dynamic because I also felt different. No one could relate to me in that way that I just did 13 years. They don't know the psychological trauma
Yep.
we carrying every day,
Talk about
waking
it.
up.
Nope.
I was dealing with trying to find work in the fashion world. I was going
Mm.
through a whole lot of transitions and struggles, partying, living my best life, right? All that in one period. So there was a lot happening. I landed my first job working for a congressman, actually. I got
Mm.
a fellowship due to the college program. One of the funders had got me,
Wait, so it wasn't nothing in clothing then,
not
because you
yet,
not yet. All right, all right.
not yet. So my first job was a congressional fellow, worked there for about 6 months. Then while I was there, I landed me an intern, unpaid, but working at the Spring Studios. Spring Studios is like an elite event production company. They hosted New York Fashion Week 2019. So I got to meet Tom Ford, Jamie Foxx. I met mad people in this space. I
Mm.
was
Mm.
watching them build venues that cost $2-3 million for 4 hours. Then
Mm.
I got to experience fashion. I went and connected with Vogue, another contact of mine. Shout out Paul Schaefer. It's my oldest friend. He's 93 years old. He brought me to Vogue, to a contact there who was an editor. I met like a lot of people there that was I was trying to like just network, find
Yeah.
a job or an intern in fashion, but it was hard to find one. They're not hiring somebody who just came home with no
Oh.
experiences.
Mhm.
All I got is an undergrad degree talking about I'm fashion ready, right? Nah, that world is very big on relationships, you heard? So it didn't work out. I got the job at the production company, and then I transitioned from the fellowship there. And then because it wasn't full time, I needed supplemental income. So I started waiting tables. I was a server in downtown Yonkers.
Mm.
You hear me? That was
Mm.
also another experience that
Mm.
low key, I feel like every young person should become a server for like 6 months because you learn how to build character.
Mm.
Waiting tables is a humbling job, but I was actually making decent money, like low key, and I was connecting to a lot of women and people, so it was fire.
Yep.
Word. I
Yep.
did that for the summer, all building my bag to move out my aunt crib to start school. School starts 2019 September. I'm getting ready for school. I'm locked in. Now I took a full-time program. I should have did part-time. 4 classes on different days. It was crazy. I'm working in a production company
Mm.
that was about 30 minutes away from the school. Then I'm working downtown Yonkers on weekends. I'm trying to squeeze in homework, travel time, the bus, the train, the Uber. Bro, life was lifing. You hear me? I went through a breakup at the time that also played a role. I'm still dealing with the struggles with my family, my mom. That's another breakdown I was dealing with. We had a severed relationship early on. So I'm carrying all these wars, bro. And that's what we don't acknowledge. Like, yo,
We
homie,
don't.
like we come
We don't.
home with so much in front of us that we need to slow down and
It's a
like
fact.
really just kind of approach it through a process. I was trying to move through this shit, right? So then that's when there was a point in my school experience where I felt disconnected from that school. I used to
Mm.
go in, I'm around kids from Asia, Africa, affluent kids is going to this. They pops is paying for this program. I'm here like on parole, bro. Like I'm in class on parole. I'm the oldest one there too. I'm 31 years old, bro. Felt so out of place,
I can
and I
see
was
that.
doing.
I can see
You
that.
can see that, right? Like the
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
So I think that played a role in it. Parole was on my body still. I was going through the transitions, and that's when I had my is what I call my crisis moment, my first mental health breakdown in December, because
Mm.
it was like I knew for the last month and a half I had to let my other jobs go to focus on school because I was so behind on school. And it felt like I couldn't finish these assignments in time. And I'm like, yo, I don't think this is for me. And what I learned was that everything I thought was true was not true.
Talk it.
That moment fractured me. because I'm like, oh, I want to be a fashion curator. I thought I was like doing the right thing. Everybody's celebrating me too in my town. They seeing me.
Mm-hmm.
I got the master's program. I'm also feeling like I'm leading the movement early on without realizing it. So I don't want to fail the people who celebrating me. I got to finish what I started. I don't want to like, but I'm like, this is not what I want to do. And I had my moment, bro. I broke down one day on my way to school. I just felt it, bro. I was feeling it heavy. And I started crying. Word, I reached out to my bros. And that's the transition for me because I reached out to a group chat of a lot of my bros, some who did time, some who I just put everybody in the chat together. Like, yo, I'm going through it right now. I'm heading to school. I started crying. I'm telling them, yo, bro, something ain't right with me. I'm going through a depression. I didn't know what it was. I just felt
Mm-hmm.
lost. And the realest thing that happened was ping, 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 ping. All the text messages coming through. Bro, call me. I'm here with you. Boom, boom, boom. You got this. You got this, bro. And I just felt like, yo, I'm all
That's
right.
love.
I
Yeah,
reached
that's
out to
love.
my colleague who was in class with me, Suni. She said, yo, come to the lobby. I missed, she said, don't come to class. We sat down and talked. So, yo, go see the advisor. Like, maybe you have to make a decision. I saw the advisor. And I say this a lot on my podcast. You know, I learned to say no to education, yes to mental health. You know what I'm saying? Where I was able to now understand, like, I come first.
Mm-hmm.
All this other shit I created in my mind about the pressure of quitting the program and leading them, man, listen, put you first.
Talk about it. Talk about it.
Don't numb it, right? Don't go get high and go get drunk. Think it's gonna go away. No, address that. Put you first. So
Facts.
that's what I did, bro. 2019, December, I withdrew from the program and now I
Mm.
had to start from scratch. And
Damn.
that is the birth of the movement, bro.
The
Word.
birth of the movement. And so, a
Yeah.
couple things real quick for just for the listeners, because that was, you said a lot of dope shit in there, bro. One of the things I always tell people is you gotta be stingy. And so when you go on the airplane, you know how it is. They come and they tell us if the mask drop, put that shit on you first before you can
Mm-hmm.
help anybody. That's a
Facts.
real, I believe that's a real way we should live life. Like, we can't help nobody if we can't help ourselves first. And so I
Exactly.
love that you said put you first. I also love that you talked about the power of your network. In a multitude of ways. You mentioned how in that particular industry it's network heavy, which opens up opportunities, which I also kind of believe that's standard across industries though, for our
For
listeners to
sure.
understand like networking is gonna be key. They say your net worth
Net
will
worth.
determine your net
Your net
worth.
worth.
And
That's
so,
right.
you know, surrounding yourself with good people. When you go through a situation, like bro said, he go through a situation, he put the group chat together, bing, 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 the support's coming through. Yo, show up. Fuck class today. Let's sit down. Let's talk. Where you at? How can I
Yeah.
help you? And that's the power of having a good network. That's what uplifts us. Those are the people we need in our lives. I call those assets and pushing
That's
away
right.
the liabilities. And
That's
so
right.
and so, yeah, bro. And then the last thing you said that really stood out to me was also the portion of letting go. And I take that in a couple of ways. Like, I know you keep talking about the mask. And I literally was having this conversation yesterday with a brother, Matthew, who was a alumni of the podcast too. And we were
Fire.
talking about ego and how oftentimes our ego or that persona, yours was JO in the streets, mine was NBA in the streets. And so
Mm.
a lot of the decisions, the things I was doing, things we all do align back to that ego. But when you
Facts.
talk about letting go and taking that mask off, now for me, NBA been dead. I'm Trent
Mm.
Griffin-Braaf. Like you
Mm.
said, JO, you know, NBA's in me. Like you said, JO's still in us. But at the end of the day, I am who I am authentically. And so
That's
I
right.
just love the concept of letting go. And so, bro, you said
Yeah.
a lot of great stuff, but I just want to make sure the listeners tapped into those jewels, and I'll give it right back to you. So now, what's next?
So I had to. So it's funny. I in that time, my vision, because at the like I said, everybody was celebrating me, like, yo, you should go talk to the youth. You should tell your story, like. And I never had the interest for that. Like, nah, I'm not connected to that. Like, whatever. But then I organized my first male support group as a result of that group
Mm,
chat, and the support group
mm,
was called the You Not Alone, the You're Not Alone Brotherhood. That
mm.
was my vision. And it's funny because when I was inside before coming home, I was trying to create a similar program for the college called Moving Forward, right? So I always had this knack of creating space among men to build, right? I never organized it because I think I went home before I was able to make it happen, but I built a curriculum around it, and I was getting the fellas to, I was recruiting. Long story short, that kind of came back and manifested itself, right? Where I
Mm-hmm.
organized the first male
Mm-hmm.
support group, And it was fire, bro. Like, I put grown men together. We had, some liquor. We was just building. I didn't know what I was doing though. Like, low key, I wasn't a facilitator yet, you heard? But I
Gotcha.
learned, and then that inspired me to want to get into the work. At the same time, I reached out to the Yonkers School District superintendent because of the My Brother's Keeper program was a big deal, mentorship. And I liked what they were doing. So I reached out to him, and guess what? He's the principal that expelled me when I was 15.
Get the fuck. Oh man,
Yeah.
look at that. Yo, look at
It was
that.
a Hail
He
Mary for
remembered you
me.
right off top?
Nah, he didn't remember
All
me.
right.
I
All
still
right, all
got the
right.
email. I wrote about this in my memoir. He's one of my like mentors now. Like, he's somebody that is an ally and a supporter of my work. I've honored him for one of our galas. But yeah, bro, he expelled me, came back, he gave me the meeting. I sat down with him. He didn't remember me off the cuff, and he remembered me. And then he's like, yo, I got so much vision for you. Like, you know what, man? I'm gonna connect you to this person, that person. It's funny. The two people who mentioned are also my mentors now. Louis Molina, shout out Louis Molina. He was the former commissioner of Rikers Island recently.
Yep.
Trailblazer. I know he might have, some people might, think differently because of his leadership there, but he's somebody I look up to.
Yep.
Honor that man a lot.
Yep.
Because he opened the door for me, which I'm explaining. Then he's like, Lucrea Ortiz, she worked at the Y for the Snug program. That means she's one of my mentors now. So he's like, I got so much, I'm gonna connect you to such and such. He's like, but I'm gonna get you involved with MBK because we need your story. He's like, yo, what are you doing next week? I'm like, whatever you want me to do. He's like, I'm gonna have you go to Lincoln, the school he expelled me from, to speak to 40 seniors. Bro, I was nervous as hell. I'm like, yo, whatever, let's do it. I'm over here locking in on my presentation. First time telling my story. I never told my story before. I suit up. I go with one of my bros and who's now a board member of mine. And we just pop in there. And it was fire because he opened up, gave me the floor. And look at the beauty of it. As I'm telling my story, one of my old bros from my hood, his son was in the audience. So everything's full circle. To this day, him and I got a good relationship. And he acknowledged, like, yo, that was a fire day, bro. You really dropped some gems on us. I was trying to tell my story, and I lost pace. And I got nervous. And I just took off my blazer. Yo, hold on. I crunched up the story. I just started talking from the heart. And that's when it hit the room. Like, it was, yo, bro, one of my significant experiences. That right there, the reaction from the leadership to him, to the superintendent, to the students, I said, oh, I found my calling. That's when the vision for 914 became to support people coming home from prison, like the support group, and then helping these young people who are at risk of going to prison. 2020 is when 914's vision, 914 United, my organization, became into life. Word.
2020. So within the last 6 years, where have you taken the organization from that day one to where you guys at now? What kind of programming are you doing, and what's the population you serve?
I'm gonna go into, in 2020 is where I built my network for real. Like, a lot of my supporters that fund us now, connect us. So speaking about Louis Molina, I did get connected to Lucrea Ortiz. I got my first job working with her. That was my first full-time position. Still building this 914 United thing. I was working as an outreach worker for a anti-gun violence program called SNUG, which means guns spelled backwards, should never use guns. State agency funded program under the YMCA in Yonkers. She became so pivotal in my journey of leadership. Then I got connected to Louis Molina, who got me my first contract to work inside of corrections where I was indicted.
Come on now.
Right? So now I'm building a 914 vision, got a job in the Yonkers community, working in corrections. He trailblazed. No one would ever have got me a contract. He saw vision. He saw second chance. He saw justice work, got me in the program. And I was running what my first curriculum was called manhood training, 8-week program in corrections, NYOP. And that's going to become important right now when I answer your question. 18 to 26-year-old residents at the county. I'm piloting my programs. That's the first thing I've done with 914. And then I got the work in the community. So I'm just building out my vision. From there to now, what's beautiful is that one of our funded partners is MBK in the schools.
My brother's
keepers. Yeah, we work with them. We work with 3 schools right now. Lincoln High School. We did serve Lincoln, but now we're working with Roosevelt High School, Gordon High School, and Barack Obama. Right. And I'm going to tell you how we serve in those spaces. Then we also run programs funded by corrections and state to run programs in YOP. So where I started my work, my organization is positioned. So we do, to answer your question more directly, we offer something called credible case management. Credible case management is an innovation of the credible messenger model. For those who don't know that, credible messengers was built by Elliot Ellis and the other thought leaders during, I think, like the 70s or something like that. It was implemented in the early 2000s with probation, and what it does is basically hire people with it leverages people with lived experiences. If you did time in prison, transform your life, you have a positive message, you can be a credible messenger, right, to now guide and mentor and support other young people at risk of incarceration.
Yes, sir.
So that's the model, how it was done initially, right? Now, what I want to tell people, because this is also something that I critique the game, the industry right now, the nonprofit industry. A credible messenger has lived experiences, but not every person with lived experiences can be a credible messenger.
Ooh,
Right?
Talk it.
A credible messenger has lived experiences, but not every person with lived experiences can be a credible messenger. Why? Because you need to really embody your message, right? You can't be about double dipping. You want to still be big homie and kind of come off like you doing all this other shit in the community, but you promoting this other message online. You got to be aligned with who you really are, right?
Yes.
That identity shift has to be something you embody, right? You can't promote. I can't be out here pushing J.O. and I'm online talking Jonathan. Nah, that's a contradiction.
That's a fact, bro.
So we embody that in my work, right? So that's the initial model we started off with, right? And then we innovated it where we blended with case management, right? And also leadership development program. So our core services is leadership development program, case management, and credible messenger mentorship, right? But then we have engagement pathways. We teach civic advocacy, professional development, which is financial literacy and career readiness, and fitness and social development. So those are our like kind of second B programs, but our priority is that credible case management model. And we offer that model in corrections at YOP, right? Where I started off early on. And then we also offer that same service to the schools. So the vision for us is like to build pathways from incarceration to community and from the schools to community. Because there's a disconnect, right? Also, people get left out. I lead a team that's primarily justice impacted, right? I have 7, or I have like 8 I have 8 staff, you know, back end administrators, grant developer, contracted. I have 2 per diem / part-time, credible case managers, and I have 4 full-time staff, including myself.
Come on, bro.
All of us served over 10 years in prison, right? Yes. Some of us got our degrees, some got our masters, some got our bachelors, some got our certifications in nutrition. My whole team represents like 3 things. We represent lived experiences. So we still come from that, right? But we represent education and we represent expertise.
Come on now.
And I think that blend is what I embody, which is the culture that we're pushing at 914 United. So we're a small organization that has huge impact. The biggest revenue we hit was over almost 900,000, almost $1 million, right? That was in 2024.
Oh, it's coming.
We took a dip. We took a dip in 2025 because of the sector, right? The president, right, slashed the federal money, which shit rolls downhill. And we've been kind of positioned. Now we have a smaller budget, but we've been building, right? We still have our programs operating in the schools. We have our programs operating in the corrections, and we have an office location that we have for over 2 years.
Come on,
right?
Bro.
That's called the Leaders Lab. For leadership and leader work, like that's all in our work. And we really on the ground, right? Like we're not an event based, like you're not going to see us in every community event because we run programs and we inside the schools and we in correction, we doing the work.
Yep.
Yeah, bro, it's been beautiful. It's been a beautiful journey. Like I have grown my team to like 14 people at one point. Then we reduce, right? People come and go, things change. But the team I have right now, and what's beautiful is that like my team has diverse gang leadership experiences. I have a former Latin gang leader on my team, a former Dominican gang leader on my team, and a former blood gang on my gang leader on my team. So it's like so interesting that we all align, right, with the mission to giving back and using our stories. And it's been powerful, bro. We just did something called Break Bread and Build. Shout out to my brother, Dr. Joe Williams. I actually want to connect you with him.
Okay.
Brother Joe's from Brownsville. He's from Brooklyn. I think best stop between Brownsville. I forgot his storyline in terms of where he's from. But he's from Brooklyn. Powerful story, powerful brother. You hear me? He did over 20 years inside the system. He just got his doctorate from NYU. He calls himself a credible clinician. He's a credible messenger with a social work background, licensed with his own firm.
I like that.
This brother and he's my thought leader. He's my thought partner, right? He's one of my council members. I believe in having a council outside your tribe. Right?
Wise king seeks counsel.
Exactly. Wise king seeks counsel. So for those who are sitting in there, start thinking about who's your tribe and who's your counsel.
That's a
because they
fact.
operate in two different spaces, right? Your tribe is your people, your community, to those who you know you can be vulnerable in front of, your counsels who you go to for advice and like
Yep.
perspective, right? You
Yep.
never could see the whole picture. That's
That's
just
a whole
honest to
fact.
be human, right?
That's a fact.
So he's one of my thought leaders, and him and I organized. It's crazy because he had this vision already, but it was basically a revitalization of the support group I did in 2020, and we call it Break Bread and Build. Right? We hosted that with 20 people. Out of 20, 17 of us served over 10 years in prison. We had one brother who did 35 years in prison, state and federal time, which also on my team, I got state and federal prison experiences.
Yep.
So
Experience.
this build was fire, bro. Ah, man. Yo, listen. Break Bread and Build, we're doing it every month now, right? We creating this space. We want to do it every week, low key, right? But of course, and we all busy. And I tell you, it was fire because we had men of different statures. We had real estate educators in there. We had social entrepreneurs. We had 9-to-5ers. We had father-son dynamic in there. It was super powerful. And the first guiding question was, how do you address an emergency injury? Joe's deep. Joe gives you spiritual, clinician work, and lived experiences. He's a beast. He was leading us to, you got to find the wound first to stop the bleeding. How you stop the bleeding? You got to find the wound. The question to the group is, what is your wound? What is your wound? And yo, that opened up trauma, boy.
Man, I already know.
Yo, for the fellas behind the wall, for the sisters, whoever's listening to this, listen, start thinking about your wounds right now.
Yes,
you got to lick your wounds in private, homie. You have to lick your wounds in private because they show up in public, right? So we talked about that. And I'm talking about being around incarcerated men, bro. That shit was so deep. Men teared. I cried. Because we need that space. I said this in the opening, right? Break Bread and Build is also significant for us, right? Because when we was up north, we broke bread with specific people, right? You ain't just break bread with everybody, right? Then, so Break Bread has that dynamic of sharing a dinner or food together, right? And bonding, right? But then the build is also dually significant, right? Because you building how we talk about building in the streets, we sharing, politic, conversing, but then we building something together, right? So that's the name, that's the meaning behind Break Bread and Build.
Break Bread and Build. I love that.
My opening was, yo, we walk around in the world as men with our armor. This is a space where you could put your armor down. In order for you to see your wounds, take off your armor. You know what I'm saying? And that was the shared moment, yo. That was deep. So now we hosting that, but that's kind of an elevated, not a program, but it's like an elevated space that's not for everybody. You gotta be ready for this space. You coming up in here, I don't care, you kill 20 people, you big homie of 20 blocks. You a man and a human first, boy. So we're gonna talk about who you are, right?
That's a fact.
So yeah, we doing that, right? And then to talk about me as well, I've learned something, and this is part of the significance of my work, right? I am the mission. So 914 has the mission to reduce recidivism, but I'm also the mission. That means that there's an alignment with what I do with myself. I'm the work that I'm trying to push. I got to embody that, right? So in that, I went back to school in 2023. I graduated last June.
Congratulations.
Full circle moment. I withdrew from the program. I went back, got my other degree from CUNY Baruch. I got my executive master's of public administration, 2-year program that I finished. And I celebrated that graduation. It was called Me Versus Me.
Talk that.
And that's what I've learned, right? So that was my one up last year. And then after that, I landed 2 significant opportunities that opened up 2026 crazy. I'm a professor at Monroe University. I teach criminal justice. Right? So I do that part-time. I'm a full-time CEO for my organization, Growing the Movement. And then I finally got selected into a national fellowship program by the Kellogg's Foundation, right? The Community Leadership Network. I'm the 4th cohort, right? This is a crazy space. Not special, let me say special space.
Yep.
We're traveling to 8 different states, building with 80 leaders across the nation. I'm talking about unpacking trauma, peeling back your onion, questioning what you think is true, learning about yourself, doing 360 assessments about who you are really as a leader. Man, we went to, the first one was Michigan. We just came back from DC. And I'm writing my memoir throughout this process. So I'm coming to new moments of clarity that's telling my story still, right? I'm healing the wound with my mom. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying? That's
yes,
a
yes,
beautiful thing
yes,
that's happening.
yes,
I
yes.
reconnected with my father. I went to Peru
Ooh,
2 years ago.
okay.
He got deported to DR and ended up in Peru. I reconnected with him. So yeah, man, like it's like I'm closing doors that were open. I'm
Yes,
opening new doors that were closed, right?
yes,
I
yes.
gotta write that down. Word.
Bars.
Yeah,
That
bars
was
right now. But
bars.
yeah, no, man. Yeah, man. I
Gotta,
became the mission, man. So like I pushed it
you're the
on my
mission.
team that yo, this ain't just a job for us. You heard? Like, and my team has the same sentiment. This is
Nope,
our purpose. This is our
that's a fact.
passion, and we're bringing impact, right? So I tell all of us when you enter this space, right? This ain't just a job and a 9 to 5, right? This ain't a
Mm-mm,
feel good neither. This is also
mm-mm.
meaningful because it's a movement that we're pushing
Yes,
pushing and trying to get the people away from wearing that mask and killing themselves, right? You know, to their successful versions of who they can be. And we
that's a
got to
fact.
show them what it look like, right?
They gotta
So when we
see it.
go into the schools, yeah, we talk about that. We have curriculums that define everything I just showed you in very creative
Mm,
ways. You
mm.
know,
Meet them
mine is
where they
around
at.
the mask. I show visuals. You know, we do reflective exercises, right?
Mm.
I'm also I do consulting work too. I have a LLC, right? Translating all my leadership, I mean my lived experiences, my leadership
The
into
leadership.
profit,
Yep,
obviously.
yep.
I'm right now hosting with one of my partners in New Rochelle a peer power training, teaching young people how to become program developers and how to become leaders and how to become
Yes,
mentors, right?
yes,
That's
yes.
my passion offline.
Let's go.
So yeah, man, I'm doing a lot. I'm writing my memoir, you know what I'm saying? I'm also working on a short production film for it. So
Mm,
becoming
mm.
more prison of purpose, I'm trying to translate into like a short film, hopefully HBO series. I'm also writing my memoir. That's powerful. I'm healing during that journey, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot. I'm turning that into a coaching program eventually. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? So there's more to come.
It
I'm
don't
still
stop. Yeah,
creating, bro. I'm
that's
still
right.
creating.
Still creating,
You know what I'm
still
saying?
curating, cooking. And yo,
That's
you know what though? Real quick. And first off, congratulations, bro. Like your
yeah, thank you,
testament,
man.
your story is very powerful to the transformation you finding your purpose and you walking in your purpose, not just finding it, but walking in it, uplifting others while doing it, bringing other people with you on the journey, like all of the things, bro. Like, and for our listeners though, I want you guys to peep a couple of things. So this brother said in 2020 he was working while he was building. Ended up getting a job, but he didn't let his vision play the background to his job. So he continued to show up 100% there, but then still showed up 100% for him and his organization. That's
Mm,
important. And because as you transition and you come home, like he said, life be lifing, and it's never going to be easy, and no one's coming to save us. And so you got to learn to maximize your 24. Like we all get the same 24 hours. This brother obviously was maximizing his 24, able to show up in another setting, giving them 8 to 10 hours a day, but then still pouring in himself with the remaining time of the day. That's
that's right.
essential for your transition and growth.
That's
100%.
right. That's
Other
right.
thing is full circle moments. You're going to see in life, you're going to have tons of these, especially when you find your purpose and you're doing what your calling is. We've heard this brother have full circle moment in docs where at one places he was once incarcerated, he's able to go back now and do programs. We heard this brother have full circle moments in schooling where he had to take a step away from school a few times, starting in Sing Sing from going to the box to
Mm-hmm.
even being home and having to step away because life is life. But he never allowed any of it to stop him. He still crossed those
Mm,
stages every single time. And then the
love that.
third is even while he was in corrections, he started programs that he was able to then institute and really get him off the ground once he came home through his own organizations. And so
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have these moments too. We're destined for these moments when we're walking in our purpose and doing what we're supposed to do. And
Love
so,
that. Damn, you
my
said that
brother,
well. That's
go
dope.
right ahead.
That's well said. You heard?
Appreciate that. And so, one question we always ask, we always like to end with the question, and I honestly kind of threw it in early on for you. When I said, "What would you go back and say to your younger self?" That's usually what we ask people. But for today's episode, I got a little different kind of ending question for you. Just considering your journey and where you've been, and the fact that you work with youth now, I don't want to go back to that question. What I really want to go to, what advice would you give to the brothers or sisters, individuals who are 3, 4 years from coming home, or maybe even less, and to actually help them get their mind right? Like, what should they be focusing on right now that will help them better succeed upon release as they re-enter society?
So my first thought is you got to look at ourselves as a product on the market, right? And in that, if you want to be marketable, you got to build value. The value building starts while you sitting in that cell versus looking through whatever magazines for bath time read, right? Versus hitting the phone to call your girl and family all day, go work out, go take a program. Take advantage of the opportunities if they are available to you. If there's no programs there, because the value building is really about, right? Like when you come home, what are you going to bring to the marketplace?
Yes, sir.
If I want to hire you, what makes me say yes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's not programming and education, then learn stocks, learn financial literacy. I was studying all this before I came home. Understand the market, right? Read the news, read the newspaper, right? Get your mind to start thinking beyond all that you know. You're already a PhD of your own life, right? You know your story, evolve it,
Mm,
right? And
mm.
evolving your story is building value, right? Because that's where a lot of us fail. We fall short and fail by not really taking those last few years or even our bid that serious. I tell a lot of people in my speeches, I didn't just serve time, time served me.
Mm, mm, mm.
So how did I do that? By taking advantage of it, by really locking in metaphorically though, right? While I'm locked in, right? And really thinking about what my value is, right?
Mm,
And I knew my value was going to be built by getting my GED, getting into a college program, reading a lot, studying, engaging with brothers who's intellectuals, gangsters too, though. Like we
that's a
talking
fact.
about people who are
That's
not
a
no
fact.
slouches,
That's a fact.
having real grown man bills, spinning the yard, but
Mm-hmm.
having real dialogue, not just venting about our shorty or about life, about who's not sending you a package. Yeah, that you need space for that, right? But really spend most of your time building your value, man, because that's what's going to translate in the marketplace, right? Even your relationships, right? So, like, I ain't just talking about a job, right? Or a program, because I got into the master's program because my value was
Mm,
a lot,
mm,
right?
mm.
That master's program, they gave me a full scholarship, 90K program, because of my value I was built,
Talk
right?
it. Talk
But
it.
also the relationships. When you come home, right? You could be a tough don and all that, bro. But a lot of people, if they see you as a liability and not an asset, bro, they're gonna stay far away from you.
Far,
They
far.
gonna give you that little first care package, and
Mm-hmm.
then you're gonna be on your way, right? But
Yep.
if they see you as an asset, though, right? Now you have leverage, right? So to my message is, yo, build your value, right? So you can build your assets, so that people, when you come home, your relationships and everything you want to do, right? You have a more likelihood to succeed because the door's open. So think about opening those doors now starts about what you do today.
Mm, mm. Yo, well said, brother. And so you guys heard
Thank
it
you.
here first. Like he said, value is everything. We encourage you. And to chime in on that value, bro, one thing I like to tell people, because sometimes we think we don't bring value. But the simplest way anyone can bring value to any situation is by asking someone, how can I help you? That's the
Mm,
simplest way to show someone you're a person of value, you're showing up, you're willing to help them, support them in some way, shape, or form. That can give you the opportunity, maybe volunteering, helping them do something where now you spend time with them and they get to know you. Because one thing for certain, people do business with people they know, like, and can trust. And the only way they
mm,
could do any of those three things, they got to get to know you. And so
facts.
build your value, like he said, and then also be of value to others. And
Love
so,
that.
Jonathan, bro, I appreciate having you on the show. We had our almost nearly the 60-minute mark. We try to keep these under an hour out of sake of time for everyone. But one thing I would encourage all of our listeners to please spin the block. Check this episode again. Jonathan gave us some really, really great jewels on this episode. He has an amazing story. And if you could see yourself in him, you could see yourself in me, then we both here telling you that greatness is within you. It's your turn to come up out here and do some amazing things too. And so, bro,
Facts.
can you let the people know where they could find you? Like, are you on Twitter,
Yeah,
Instagram,
for sure, for
email
sure.
address?
For sure. I also want to shout out Shalene for connecting us too.
That's a fact. Oh yes, yes,
Yeah,
that's a
fact.
fact.
Shout out to the
Big shout
sister.
outs. Big shout out.
Yeah, she doing good work too. Yeah, so you can follow us on social media if you have social media, right? 914 United. Then my page is called JO Envisioned, right? J.O. Envisioned. That's my personal thought leader page. But our company page is 914 United. Same thing on YouTube, same thing on Facebook, 914 United. Our website is www.914united.org. Right. If you Google 914 United or Jonathan Alvarez, a lot of content's gonna come up.
Yes, sir.
So definitely follow the movement, tap in when you come home. If you're coming back to Westchester, we all looking to always build new leaders. Leaders build leaders is our mantra. And we here, man, putting on, and we also living the message.
So you guys heard it here first. We thank you guys for tuning in to another episode. We thank Jonathan for coming and spending the block with us, sharing some time, some expertise. And as always, stay safe. And we looking forward to you coming home and bossing up. Have a good
Love
one,
that.
y'all.
Salute.